Before this video starts, I'd just like to give a disclaimer. From now on, all Forsaken related content revenue will have 25% of its share donated to charities that support sexual assault victims, until soul-driven love is completely removed off payroll of Forsaken. I also encourage all of you who play Forsaken to partake in donating 25% of whatever you spend in Forsaken to also do so, but you are not obligated to do this, as the money made off a single individual in Forsaken is minuscule. If you're not able to donate, please just watch this video until the end to find out how you can help donate to victims, even without money yourself. On top of that, I obviously made it clear in my last few Forsaken videos, but under no circumstances do I support the actions of soul-driven love in any way, and the development team behind Forsaken are also quite bluntly not okay with it. However, I disagree with many of their practices of the monetization of the game. For example, the 2x emote wheel. This is something completely useless and legitimately only exists as something to make people buy. Something like that could have easily been put in BIP to make it a better offer. Finally, I am not okay with how Hedgeh straight up lied about Soul's involvement, intentionally or not, fueled by hope or not. I understand that they stated the game would not have Soul around it or being paid before the NDA was signed. It was still extremely irresponsible to have done something like this before everything was sorted and signed. Hedgeh was unable to take back their lie past this due to being under NDA, but I cannot defend the fact that they did that. I'm sure they've apologized for it now, and there's a lot of other things I disagree with about development of this game, but that's currently irrelevant. But that is my final thoughts on the situation currently. Now, with all of that said, allow me to explain why I've made this video. Hey, if this is the first time you're seeing one of my videos, I'm Leo, a Forsaken content creator. Some of you have probably seen me around the Forsaken lobbies, or be part of the creators' videos, or just me having bad takes on Twitter. I don't have that large of a following, but there is something that I have that many others don't have the privilege of having: a voice. I'm sure you're all very aware of the unpleasant truth that was discovered about Forsaken lately. Forsaken's developers and owners were forced into an illegal deal where they had to accept that soul-driven love, Forsaken's former owner, and an absolutely disgusting person, which I'll get back to later. Now, what are the details of this deal? Well, there's not much we know in specific, but I can try to break it down the best I can. Around May, when Forsaken's ownership was passed to Hedgeh on Brazil, Hedgeh originally was meant to hold onto ownership temporarily for Soul when everything surrounding his allegations went down. However, as the evidence got more and more damning, Hedgeh and Basil tried to keep ownership. Once that happened, Soul flipped out and sold the game off to a massive studio, which caused a massive amount of backlash towards Soul, because at the time they said they were going to address their allegations. This basically just proved their guilt. Now, what happened around May to June is that Hedgeh announced that legal stuff was finished, and that Pariat and his team have been removed, as well as Soul not earning any money. Hedgeh did say that this was said before anything was signed, but I do find it confusing that they said legal stuff was finished, and was able to disclose that Pariat was removed as late as June, which makes the time gap between all of that extremely tight because he came back, but I'm not really here to point out stuff like that. Point is, that Hedgeh had to end up taking a legal deal again with Soul, being that Soul has to take 25% of only the Roblox game's revenue in exchange for Basil and Hedgeh getting control of the Forsaken IP, or that Soul would sell off their entire game to a large studio that will net them around $40 million. Now, let's be blunt. People's lives and jobs depended on that game. People who work on Forsaken depended on that money to pay rent, feed their family, and a lot more. People who had no idea what Soul was up to behind the scenes. People who didn't purposefully sign up for the game with a lead attached to it. Now, let's put this into perspective. If you work in a job where you financially depended on it to live, and the company hiring you does a stupid decision that should give them flack, is it your fault for working with the company in a random chain? For example, what if they pay off somebody really bad to stay afloat? It isn't your chain of the shop that the company is banded on, your boss wasn't happy with it, and neither was any other employee. Are you a bad person for working in this company? Of course you're not. You need that money to live, and the alternative option would have been with you out of a job and starving. Keep in mind that essentially none of the development team were aware of the truth of the legal deal and were told about it around the same time as us. Once again, am I okay or happy at all that Hedgeh unintentionally or not lied? Hell no. I've never been okay with it, and it's definitely made me lose faith in their word a little more. Did they have a choice in the legal deal? Hell no. It was either that or try making another game, and in the long run, that just would not have been possible with the amount of people that depend on the game. Now, with that explanation out of the way, I'd like to propose a temporary solution to the soul-driven problem of Hedgeh and Basil assumingly or fighting this decision in a legal process. Legal processes take a long time. So, let's do some math to figure out how much soul-driven love makes off Forsaken every single day. Now, let's remove Parriott out of the equation for now. While he is taking 15% of the game's revenue, he just seems to be some random swap studio guy, and I'm sure something will be figured out about removing him. However, Soul makes 25% of the game's revenue. So, let's do some maths. By looking at Forsaken's daily revenue, Forsaken makes a whopping 9,597,275 Robux a day. Converting that to real cash, with Robux and Robux exchange being a measly $0.0038 per Robux, Forsaken made $36,469.65 in just one day alone. Now, 25% of that is around $9,000. Soul-driven love makes $9,000 a day from just Forsaken alone. If that's not absolutely vexing to you, I don't know what is. This means that on average, when Forsaken makes around $1 million a month, Soul-driven love would make an entire $270,000. On the plus side, sure, he's not making a majority of the game's revenue, but unfortunately, this is more than set for life. Now, how do we minimize the impact and harm this amount of money Soul is making to their victims? Well, it's a big ask and a large task. That rhymed, but I don't think it's impossible. First of all, like I've stated at the start of my video, until Soul-driven love is completely removed of Forsaken's funding, legally or otherwise, I will be donating 25% of all my Forsaken content revenue to charity to support victims of sexual assault, as Soul has victimized so many people and I'd like to do what I can to support future victims. On top of that, I've done some more maths. There are genuinely tens of thousands of content creators, just like me, some big, some small. Let's say as a lowball estimate, there are 90,000 Forsaken content creators currently. If each creator donated just $5 of their revenue to a charity, the overall money donated to charity would be around $450,000. This way, the amount of money Soul makes per month and the harm made done to victims can not only be repaired, but also cancelled out. You would make 60% more of an impact to both the community and to help those in need, as well as encouraging healthy discussion between the team and content creators. This way, the owners can focus on finally getting the game back, and the rest of us can continue making content while cancelling out any potential revenue we could have given to Soul. If you are a content creator, I genuinely encourage you to donate to relevant charities, as well as fund fundraisers on new videos for victims. I would also encourage you to donate 25% of your income to said charities, but so much as a few dollars can make so much of an impact. I can cancel out how much you could have accidentally given to Soul without being aware. Now, what can you, the viewer, do? First, let's figure out how much on average Forsaken makes off a single player. For premium payout, the amount Forsaken is paid depends on how much time they spend on Forsaken compared to other games, divided between what games they play and how much. If they only ever play Forsaken, Forsaken get an average of 20 Robux per hour. That makes Soul get 5 Robux per hour. Now, let's extrapolate this to the amount of playtime the average experienced Forsaken player has, which is around 12 days. Forsaken would have earned 1,440 Robux of a premium player. Now, take 25% of that and you'd get 360 Robux. Now, multiply that by 0.0038, which is the Robux to dollar multiplier, and Soul would have made, get this, a whopping $1 of a single premium player. Compare this to the amount Forsaken gets, and this is completely negligible, even as a premium player. Now, taking into account Game Passes being the bulk of their revenue, as long as you as an individual do not purchase any more Game Passes past this point, you are not putting a significant amount of money into Soldier and Love's pocket. Let's look at my case, for example. As somebody who has spent around 25,000 Robux on the game before finding out, with all those calculations out of the way, Soul would have only made $16 off me, with me being completely unaware of this. Of course, when I found out, I immediately cancelled out by making my channel pledge that I've shown you today. Now, all you need to do as a viewer and player of Forsaken, support the charities and the victims. If you get so much as $5 on occasion, if you have no use for it, donate it. Cancel out the hurt Soul has done. If you don't have money individually, watch this video. Watch other Forsaken videos by creators taking the same pledge as me. 25% of every Forsaken video on this channel going forward is now going towards charities that tackle assault and other forms of abuse in the real world. Like the videos, share them. Make the algorithm share those videos around. That way, I'll be able to give the revenue made to victims who actually need it. If you're a creator, I hope you join me in working to cancel out all the suffering Soul has caused others, while we wait with bated breath for Hedgeh and Basil to finally get rid of them. I firmly believe it's not an if, but a when, and it's hopefully sooner than later. Soul is a very impulsive, idiotic person, and I promise you that they will slip up one day. That being said, that's where this video is going to end.